Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. All right, so there's a video that has been circulating for a couple of days now, which shows this journalist who is in hot pursuit of Representative Jasmine Crockett, who happens to be my U.S. representative. She represents my district in Congress. All right, so this journalist is pursuing her, and he wants her to give him a statement, answer his question, something having to do with Tesla, all right, Elon Musk. And she doesn't want to answer his question. And she has the right to say no or to ignore him. But he is being rather relentless. He wants her to give him a statement. And then it appears that she reaches up and grabs his phone, the phone that he's using to record her. All right? So we're going to look at that tape, and I'm going to give you my legal analysis, and I'm going to give you my conclusion based on almost 18 years of criminal defense work. So we're going to look at the statutes that are involved in this case, and we're going to apply the facts to those statutes. And I believe you will see, again, that Representative Crockett violated not one law. Okay? Now, let's go and watch that video.
Hello, Congresswoman.
Horse manure. Well, that sounds like fun.
Wait, Congresswoman Crockett.
So she is clearly not wanting to talk to him. She's engaged in a conversation with one of her colleagues. She is jovial, she's laughing, she's happy, and she wants nothing to do with this guy, which is absolutely her prerogative. But he's being rather insensitive. Okay? Let's keep watching.
Congresswoman Crockett, you were recently on a Tesla takedown call calling for violence on the 29th. Would you like to clarify your comments?
As you can see.
Congresswoman, will you condone violence at the Tesla?
Okay, so you see her appear to reach up and grab the phone. And I keep saying appear because, look, I haven't seen but just this clip. I don't know if there are other clips, but based on what we see, it looks like she grabbed his phone to stop him from recording and harassing her. Okay? All right, so now what he does is he files a police report with the Capitol Police Headquarters. Here is his tweet. His name is Charles D. Downs, and I'm not taking a thing from Mr. Downs. He's a journalist. He has the right to be there trying to get information, trying to get answers to his questions. I just take issue with how relentless he was after it was obvious that she did not want to answer his questions. All right? At any event, he says, I just left Capitol Police Headquarters in D.C. where I filed a police report against Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, watch this, for assault, battery, and attempted theft of my cell phone simply because I respectfully, I don't know how respectful it was. I mean, he was relentless is the R word that I would use. So anyway, he says, I respectfully ask her to condemn the violence she has been inciting at Tesla showrooms. And there he is there, in my opinion, disparaging the Congresswoman by saying that she was inciting violence against Tesla. All right, so that's his statement. So apparently he filed a police report, and he wants the police or the U.S. Attorney's Office to pursue 3 charges: assault, battery, and attempted theft of my cell, of his cell. All right, now, a little background. Typically, crimes that are committed in D.C., remember D.C. is not a state, are prosecuted under D.C. law, D.C.'s code, all right, D.C.'s law. But if an incident occurs on federal property, then federal law is the law that prosecutors would use to prosecute someone, okay? And again, we got 3 laws, 3 different statutes here that we need to look at. Okay? So first, theft. So theft is covered under 18 U.S.C. section 661. And it says, whoever within the special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States, maritime means the waters that are under the United States jurisdiction, takes and carries away with, underscore, intent to steal or prolong. Intent to steal. Any personal property of another shall be punished as follows. If the property taken is of a value exceeding $1,000 or is taken from the person of another, by a fine under this title or imprisonment for not more than 5 years or both, in all other cases by a fine under this title or by imprisonment not more than 1 year or both. So this is a pretty serious offense. Now, let me explain this. In order for a person to be convicted of a crime, there are 2 things the prosecutor has to prove. First, the government has to prove what we call mens rea. Mens rea. And that means they got to prove the appropriate mental state. And in this case, the appropriate mental state is intent. Intent. So they would have to prove that Jasmine Crockett, Representative Crockett, intended to steal his cell phone when she grabbed it. Okay? Not that she took it and then gave it back to him, but that she intended to steal it. Now, we know already that Jasmine took that cell phone not to steal, but to get him out of her face. And the second thing the prosecutor has to prove is what we call actus reus. Okay? Actus reus, which means they got to prove that she acted in some way, that she performed some act. Well, we see that when she took the phone. That is the act. But what they're going to have serious problem with is proving that she took it with the intent to steal it. And because I don't believe the facts show that beyond a reasonable doubt, I do not believe that she should be charged with theft, and I do not believe that a jury would convict her of theft. Why would she take that phone to steal the man's phone? The woman is wealthy. She's a member of Congress. She has her own cell phone. You saw several staff members there with her. So it is ridiculous that she was intending to steal or purloin his cell phone. So I would say that is a nothing burger. All right, so then that moves us to assault. All right, so 18 U.S.C. section 113 is the federal statute that is used in this case because this incident occurred on federal property. All right, so assault by striking, beating, or wounding by a fine under this title or imprisonment for no more than 1 year or both. Then the statute says simple assault by a fine under this title or imprisonment for not more than 6 months or both, or if the victim of the assault is an individual who has not attained the age of 16 years by fine under this title or imprisonment for not more than 1 year or both. So this tells us what the punishment will be, but we also need a definition for assault. And here's the definition. Thus, an assault is committed by either a willful attempt to inflict injury upon the person of another, or by a threat to inflict injury upon the person of another, which, when coupled with an apparent present ability, causes a reasonable apprehension of immediate bodily harm. All right, so I think they're going to have the same problem they had earlier. Remember, mens rea, mental state, actus rea. They got the actus rea. They got her on video removing the cell phone from him. But I think they will have a problem with what I have highlighted here in yellow, willful attempt to inflict injury. I think they will have serious problems trying to show that she took the cell phone to inflict injury. That's the mens rea. Willful attempt to inflict injury upon the person of another. I think that's where they're going to have a problem. She, again, was merely trying to get that phone out of her face. This guy was harassing her. So move the phone, and if you don't move it, I'll move it. It's like somebody being in your personal space, in your face, pressuring you to make a statement or to answer a question that you've already shown you don't want to answer. And you don't have to. Now, he's doing his job as a journalist, okay? Not taking anything from him for doing that. We need journalists at the United States, at the Capitol building, trying to get answers from Congress and from those politicians. We need that. I applaud that. But he should have done it with a lot more taste, in my opinion. After she showed that she was not interested in answering his question, that should have been the end of it. But I believe they will have a problem with the willful attempt to inflict. And we certainly didn't hear her say utter any kind of threat. So that is not even applicable here. What is applicable is whether she willfully attempted to inflict injury. I don't think so. There's no facts to suggest that, unless something happened after the video went off that we don't see. I don't see that. We don't see that. So I can't speak on that. But based on what we saw, I don't see how they get to willful attempt. And remember, this has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And oh, by the way, folks have already concluded that Jasmine has committed assault, although Jasmine is presumed innocent. She is presumed innocent. As of right now, the state, in this case, the federal government, has proved nothing. They got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They've not done that. And I don't believe they'll be able to do that. Okay? And by the way, assault, battery are very closely related. Battery means you're striking, you're hitting, you're punching. That, coupled with assault, the assault and battery that the guy filled the police report out for. And then there's this issue of self-defense. When she reached up and grabbed the phone, was that justified? Was that excusable because she had the right to defend herself? Okay, so I'm sure her legal team, if this were to go anywhere, I'm sure her legal team would consider whether or not self-defense is also a defense to her actions. Not only is there no intent there to either commit theft or to injure this man, but were her actions or are her actions excused because of self-defense? We have the right to defend ourselves. So self-defense is the use of reasonable force to repel a danger which a person reasonably believes may cause him imminent bodily harm. Now, there's a lot to unpack there. I don't have time to do it, but let me just point out a couple of things. Self-defense is the use of reasonable force. Well, was the force that Jasmine used, was it reasonable? Yes. She just simply took the phone out of the man's hand. She didn't follow that up, as best as we can tell, with some punches, some kicks, some, a weapon, a knife, a gun, or anything like that. She just got that thing out of her face. So the force was reasonable. To repel a danger which a person reasonably believes. Now, you may say, well, from what I can tell, there was no danger. He just had a cell phone. Well, quite often with these self-defense statutes, it's not what you think. It's not what the judge thinks. It's not what the jury thinks. It's not what the lawyers think. It's what is in the mind of the victim. And if they can articulate a reasonable belief that they felt in danger, then that self-defense statute could apply here. And if you're like, now hold on just a minute here, Mr. Corbett. We obviously saw no danger here. He wasn't trying to hurt her. Well, let me remind you of how many times we've seen police officers harm African-American people, especially, just because they get on the stand and say, I feared for my life when he reached for his comb. I feared for my life when he reached for his phone, his wallet. And how many times have those police officers been acquitted, found not guilty? Because the jury had to consider the circumstances based on the subjective, not objective, not what a reasonable person would have thought, but the subjective mindset, fears, concerns of the victim. So it is very possible, if this were to come down to that, come down to a trial, Jasmine could get on the stand and articulate a reasonable belief, her subjective belief, that she was in danger because this man, for whatever reason. Okay? So she could very well successfully use the self-defense statute to defend herself in this matter. So again, for all those reasons, I do not believe she violated any law. I don't believe there's no intent. I don't believe there was no willful attempt to steal anything, no intention to assault anyone, to batter anyone, and so on. I don't see it. I could be wrong, but I don't see it. Now, I would say, therefore, in my professional legal opinion, Representative Crockett did not commit the offenses of assault, battery, or attempted theft on Mr. Charles R. Downs. Now, sort of off that incident, I want to say this in defense of strong women, strong black women like Jasmine Crockett and so many others. I have a daughter who is a strong black professional woman, and people just don't like that. They have a certain, if you will, box that they want to put black women in, and being strong and professional and articulate is not the box they want to see them in. So I believe Representative Crockett is our generation's Representative Barbara Jordan, who is or who was from Texas, from Houston. And she represented her constituents also in the U.S. Congress. And wow, was she a strong African-American woman and leader. So I say this, America often resents strong, professional, outspoken black women, especially those who challenge white supremacy. They face backlash from white society and sometimes from within the black community. We're seeing black people all over social media attack Representative Crockett as she fights for them. Meanwhile, outspoken white men are rewarded for outlandish behavior. It's viewed as strength. Black women are labeled aggressive for being assertive, while white men are seen as bold and fearless and strong. This double standard reinforces bias and blocks black women's influence and advancement. And again, what is especially troubling is to see African Americans pile on to this. All the while, these women who are in these positions, these strong black professional women who are in these positions, are fighting on our behalf. And it happens to all of them. Barbara Jordan, Fannie Lou Hamer, Shirley Chisholm, and the list goes on and on and on. But I tell you what, so long as Representative Crockett continues to fight for us and being fearless and bold, putting her own reputation and life on the line for us, African-American people, and our posterity, I stand with them. So I stand with Representative Jasmine Crockett. She's a younger woman than I am. She's a brilliant young woman. She has a bright future ahead of her. And how can we talk about her behavior and her standing up strong and not talk about Donald Trump? He said much worse things. And oh, by the way, I believe her when she said she was not making fun of Governor Abbott here of Texas, the governor of Texas. She said she was not doing it. I believe her. I believe her. So, if Trump is to be the example, Jasmine needs to keep doing all the bodacious, bold things that she's doing, and who knows, she may end up being president if Trump is the example. Anyway, I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching this video, and stay woke.